Music is one of the greatest art forms in the entire world. It allows us to connect with other strangers over our own shared experiences, as well as providing comfort in difficult times. And one way music can do that is by actually talking about many topics that the rest of the world avoids. While mainstream media is so regulated and often safe, music has this freedom that no other media form has. And rap and hip hop is no exception. Often the greatest rap albums involve hard-hitting topics such as mental health, past traumas, and the structure of society, to name just a few. And one album that does this incredibly well is Taboo by Denzel Curry. This was Denzel's third album, and for me, the album that elevated Denzel to one of the greats in modern rap. As the album title suggests, the song on Taboo featured Denzel talking about topics that the rest of the world views as taboo and hard to talk about. These include near-death experiences, mental health, and even the sexual abuse he faced as a child. The album is split into 3 separate acts, each released over 3 consecutive days. Each act is unique to the others, with different styles and even different cover arts. The first act, titled Light, is the happiest of the 3 acts, hence the title. Denzel appears to be living his best life, and this is reflected in the more upbeat tones of the songs. The second act is titled Grey, and this represents the reality after the light. It's a wake-up call for Denzel to fix his life. It's also notably longer than the other 2 acts. While the other acts are both 4 songs, Grey is 5 songs long. This is because the reality that Denzel shows us is often where people find themselves in the longest in their life. The final act is titled Dark, which is where Denzel realizes he has to be authentic to himself. He has to do what he wants, not what others want him to do. And this reflects in the style of this act. It's the classic Denzel style that we saw on previous albums such as Imperial, and that we would see on future albums such as Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. So today I want to talk about the lyrical masterpiece of all 3 of these acts that make such an incredible album. So the obvious place to start is with the first act, Light. As I previously mentioned, this act features 4 songs, all with a particularly upbeat tone. Denzel is braggadocious and cocky in his lyrics as he brags about his money and the women around him. The 2 main examples can be seen on the songs Sumo and Cash Maniac. In the chorus of Sumo, we see this cocky mindset in the chorus as Denzel constantly repeats the line, "Pockets too big, they sumo." Denzel is quite clearly young and immature. His whole identity revolves around the wealth he has, a classic trait we see and hear in immature hip-hop. The mindset was probably the one he held in his early fame. Denzel is from Carroll City in Miami, which he's described as being violent and quite run down. So going from quite a poor upbringing to a huge influx of wealth and fame was probably a reason for Denzel's ego getting out of control. And as for Cash Maniac, well, the clue is in the name. Denzel is literally a cash maniac. As he's receiving more and more money, his hunger for wealth only increases. An important lyric comes when Denzel says, "Now all my troubles and problems have shifted. After my 5th hit, it seems I'll be drifting. I'm never slipping, I'm forever pimping." Denzel believes that because he's now rich and wealthy, he doesn't have any issues. Now this is obviously not true, but this shows just how immature Denzel is at this point of his life. He's distracting himself from the deep-rooted issues within himself with materialistic gains, such as cars and money and women. And saying that he's never gonna slip again shows his immaturity. I'm gonna make a comparison between the mindset Denzel shows and someone he's collaborated with in the future, which is T-Pain. Now, T-Pain has talked in interviews about how difficult it is to maintain relevance and fame in the music industry. And this is because this was something he experienced in the early 2010s. We can see how different this is to Denzel's viewpoint, who believes he'll never fall off. He says he's never going to slip, and he's forever pimping. Now, while he is still incredibly relevant now, this wouldn't have been the case if he didn't stick to his hard work. It wasn't like he was forever going to be famous and relevant because of a few good songs. He had to continuously work. The key reason for these differing viewpoints between Denzel and T-Pain is most likely the age difference between the 2. T-Pain is currently 40, so he has lived and experienced a lot more. This means he's able to mature in life and learn from his past mistakes. Whereas if we assume that Denzel is rapping from the perspective of when he first got fame, he would be around 20 years old. Therefore, he hasn't lived and experienced as much as others, so he hasn't been able to learn from his mistakes. However, the one song that's very different to the rest of the songs in this first act is Black Balloons. Instead of having positive lyrics like the other songs I've mentioned, Black Balloons actually features much more mellow and darker lyrics. Denzel raps, "Or decapitated when I lose my head, since life is overrated." Now, I believe Denzel is trying to show us how he didn't really care to fix his issues even though he knew they existed. Think about it, he's actively talking about those issues, yet is choosing to ignore doing anything about them. Instead, he raps about them in a very upbeat and positive tone. I think we can all admit that the chorus of Black Balloons is very upbeat and catchy. This again shows the immaturity that Denzel has at this point in his life. He's currently choosing to distract himself instead of facing these issues head on. He believes that they'll eventually go away, but this isn't the case. We then move on to the second and longest act of the album, which is Grey. As previously mentioned, it's within this act that Denzel essentially gets given a wake-up call. Some time has clearly passed between this and the first act, as Denzel has matured significantly. However, one thing I do love about this album is that it's not an instant change. Instead, it's a progressive journey as we move from the first act into the second. What I mean by this can be seen on the first song of this second act, Super Saiyan Superman. In this song, Denzel is still incredibly arrogant and materialistic, so much so he believes he is a god. He raps this with the lyrics, "I am a god, call me young Shiva, look at the testament, better than ever been." Now, I believe that this song has been put in this act to show the listener that Denzel can't grow and become a better person without having these issues in the first place. If you take this song out of the second act, all you'll have is this mature person. And while this is a good and positive thing, it doesn't hold the same weight than if we were to see the growth and progression that Denzel has, which we do. Denzel knows that these issues are integral to him, and that's what he's trying to show the listener. He wouldn't be who he is without actually having these issues. While yes, he is trying to fight them and get rid of them, he also understands that they are necessary to him as a person. However, we see the first moments of change and growth on the next song, which is Switch It Up. While the title refers to Denzel's friends who switch up on him, especially as he became famous, it could also refer to how Denzel is switching up his own mentality. The reason I say this is because this is the first song that Denzel actually shows some maturity. We see this with lyrics such as "brain disorder, blame this for the pain in Florida," "bipolar vibe over," "time slower, I'm sober now, I sorta see." In the first part of this line, Denzel is talking about the Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz, who murdered 17 people. Denzel is saying that people shouldn't be blaming what he did entirely on mental health issues, which is what many people did at the time. Now, the fact that Denzel is taking interest and having opinions on this shows he's maturing in a way. He's no longer just focusing on himself, but is instead sympathetic towards others. He's realised that the whole world doesn't revolve around him, and he actually needs to extend an olive branch to those around him. Mentioning bipolar also links to how Denzel is switching up in this song. He's no longer this completely immature person, he's instead taking a necessary first step towards his growth as a person. We are then given a potential reason for this change in mentality as Denzel mentions that he's gotten sober, potentially allowing his mind to clear. He's removed some negative influences in his life and is now becoming more mature. However, he's not entirely perfect yet. Like I said, Denzel shows the listener that this is a journey that he's on. He doesn't just flick a switch and become a better person, he instead has to take time to grow. And he shows the listener this at the end of the first verse of this song with the lyrics, "Money and a new girl that's warm for the night, do a hoe like clothes they worn for the night." Here we see that Denzel still has some immature and materialistic characteristics. He's not perfect, but he knows he needs to grow a bit more. And this growth is seen in the next 3 songs in the act, Mad I Got It, Sirens, and Clout Cobain. However, it's the latter that I want to really focus on in detail. This song probably has the gloomiest tone of the entire album, a stark contrast to the upbeat tone that was in the first act. Denzel raps lyrics such as, "I don't even know what to feel, they didn't even know what's real, dry tears with a dollar bill, I'm out trying to make a mill. When Denzel says they, he's referring to children. Denzel has said that this lyric refers to how children today are so desensitized to violence due to social media. I believe that Denzel mentions this as he's trying to prevent this from happening to other young people. He doesn't want the youth of today to make the same decisions that he made. With social media being so popular as it is today, negative influences are so easy to access. Therefore, it's so easy for so many more people to take the same wrong decisions that Denzel did. And as previously mentioned, Denzel grew up in a very rough area, meaning he too was probably desensitized to violence. He probably believes that this contributed to his negative mindset as he became an adult. Denzel then says he dries his tears with dollar bills, and interestingly, this is both positive and negative. On the one hand, he's emotionally mature enough to cry about his issues, despite the common image of men not crying. On the other hand, this is a subtle flex. He's still bragging about the money and that he's able to waste money, and he still wants more as he says he's trying to make a mill. This shows the listener that despite being long into his maturing journey, he's still not perfect and still has some development to do. I think Denzel is trying to show the listener here not to strive for perfection. No matter how much growing and development you do, you can always improve. And we get this final development in the final act of the album, which is titled Dark. This is the most open and honest version of Denzel we've probably ever got. Not just on this album, but probably in Denzel's entire career. The first song in this act, The Blackest Balloon, features Denzel talking about his family issues. The song Perks features him talking about his issues within the music industry. And then we move on to by far the darkest song on the entire album, which is Vengeance. This song features graphic and violent lyrics from Denzel as he talks about what he wants to do with his enemies. He raps lyrics such as, chop another bitch up, put them body parts in the bag, put them body parts in the concrete, spread the concrete across the whole city. Now, these lyrics are honestly quite brutal to listen to. The first time I heard these lyrics, I thought that this was Denzel's way of being as honest as possible. He's not holding anything back, and he's telling us all. And while that could be the case, the more I thought about it, I began to think that this was Denzel's way of not trying to be perfect. Like I said when I spoke about Kurt Cobain, Denzel is trying to show the listener not to strive for perfection. In the past, he may have tried to achieve an impossible perfection. However, now he understands that that is simply impossible. He's now deciding to lean into the negativities and imperfection in his life. And whether or not this is a good thing is completely up to the listener, which is something I love about this album. Denzel doesn't try and make you agree or disagree with him at this point in the album. Instead, he lets the listener make their own decisions. In fact, leave a comment on this video. Do you think it's a good thing that Denzel is leaning into the negativities, even though it is clearly a bad thing? The album then reaches its conclusion with the song Black Metal Terrorist. And now, while I have been mainly talking about the lyrics of songs, with this one I instead want to talk about the style and tone of this song. After this video, go and listen to Black Metal Terrorist. You'll notice that this song is practically classic Denzel. It embraces a style similar to his first real hit song, which was Ultimate. And this is the payoff the whole album has led to. Denzel has grown and developed a lot throughout this album. He's gone from an arrogant and immature young man to a much more mature and emotional individual. And all of this growth has resulted in the ultimate realization for him, no pun intended. He now realizes that the only way for him to achieve true happiness is to be himself. And while it may be a bit cliche to say, it's the honest truth. While often rap albums focus on the big changes an artist makes, Taboo shows the listener that the way Denzel grew was by simply being open and honest with himself and the rest of the world. Taboo is, in my opinion, one of the greatest modern rap albums. While Denzel Curry's previous albums were pretty great, Taboo elevated him so much in my opinion. Denzel is one of the most unique artists in the world. While many others change their styles when they change their topics, Denzel maintains his own fantastic and unique style whilst changing between multiple topics, even on the same album. Think about it, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future, Taboo, and King of the Mischievous South are three completely different albums in topic, yet their style still remains almost identical. I don't think there is many other artists that could make an album so complex as Taboo, which is a true testament to Denzel's incredible ability as a writer and as a rapper. If you somehow haven't listened to Taboo yet, go give it a listen. And if you already have listened to it, go give it another play. It's truly incredible.